Okay, everyone, so welcome to our chat with David Drury today. For anyone who doesn't know, David is a guidance counsellor in the Dublin area. He's very experienced in our own CAO system, but also in UCAS in the UK, all over Europe, in the past, teacher of history and geography.
And thank you, Martina, for having me this evening. Martina McGrath-Daly, medical doctor and founder of 625 Points. So it's great to be here. And Martina will be discussing all things exam technique and English and other things that come along in our conversation.
And of course, guidance. So we are a fairly short time away now from exams, and we're in the middle of some interesting developments in the CAO. So we'll probably talk about that first. So a lot of questions came in about the CAO Statement of Application. Could you tell us what that is, and is there any action required?
Yeah, the CAO Statement of Application is a very important correspondence from the CAO. All students would have received this communication in the form of an email from May 7th. It's very important to open the email, to log in, and to read the letter or the communication carefully. The main purpose of it is to check that all your details are correct. So it will state your personal details, your Leaving Cert exam number, your course choices in the order that they are or were presented by you at the time in February, and any exemptions that you may have applied for example, like an Irish exemption, an NUI exemption, in particular. So the onus is on you to check that everything is in order and correct. I think it is important that you sit with a parent or guardian and you read it very carefully, and you read it once, twice, and three times, because it's best to get things right now, while the system is open until July 1st at 5 p.m. It will close. After that, it becomes very difficult, if not impossible, to make changes. So spend a few minutes having a look over.
Absolutely. And, I know of situations where there were mistakes, like little mistakes on birth certs and passports. These things are rare, but they happen. So better weed them out before it becomes an issue.
Yeah,
And
it's very important that your name on the CAO and identifies or matches correctly with your birth certificate or passport. They must correspond.
yeah. And David, the other notable CAO development is the change of mind facility. Could you talk us through that and what action students should consider taking at this point?
The Change of Mind facility is, I suppose, an opportunity for students to reflect on their course choices. It's an opportunity to reorder the courses that you have in your top 10 for level 8, and the other list is level 6 and 7. So you can reorder them, you can omit courses, you can add new courses as long as they're not restricted courses. So it's a time to sit down and really research what you're interested in course wise, and start to align your courses in order of preference, the courses you genuinely are interested in from 1 to 10.
Yeah, that's always a super important point that go in your genuine order of preference. The worst thing that can happen, it won't be your first choice.
I think it's important as well that when, I suppose, you are choosing your courses, to look at perhaps your aptitude tests, your values tests, you could, your interest tests, you can complete in Careers Portal. I think it's also important to think back to your transition year work experiences. Think about the experiences you enjoyed mostly, and think about the kind of job you would like to see yourself in. So I think it's a really important time to reflect on those experiences.
Yeah, I think that that covers it. Will we move on then to the subject of exams?
Yeah, so I would just like to ask you, like at this moment in time, Martina, what would you recommend for students? Would you recommend that they focusing on content, or should they focus on exam techniques at this stage?
So I think the most natural answer to that is that there is not necessarily a dichotomy there. There's one or the other. They're not mutually exclusive. Because if you go to sit down and practice a paper, that is when you're both covering content and you are also practicing your technique. So it is very important to pay attention to both, and technique should receive more attention now than it has done before, perhaps. You want to look over the timing, have a look at your different papers. The general gist of it is that you should um, kind of apportion an amount of time that is similar to the marks that you're getting. So um, basically you can divide, marks per minute more or less, and multiply it out, and then you know how long to spend on different sections. It's a very rough guide. We have some guidance available on our website for the mandatory subjects. It's pretty intuitive. Um, but yeah, definitely. I finally found today actually a video from the State Examination Commission. There are little bits to note. So, for example, they don't want you to write in pencil or erasable pen, or use highlighters or
It's
colored
important.
pencils. Yeah, so little things like that. I just shared that actually on social media, that little video. Yeah, so just make sure to fill out your exam number, fill out your level, fill out your all of those little bits and bobs, so that you're, not surprised, not flustered when you do go into the exam. Oh, I have to fill out all of this, bureaucratic paperwork. So
Yeah,
a bit like with the CEO statement of application, there is going
yeah,
to be a certain identity part to this. So kind of, expect that, expect to, know where the clock is in the room. Just think about what it's going to
yeah.
be like when you're in the room. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it is an important time to check your Leaving Cert number as well on the Leaving Cert portal. It's always, and again on the statement of application. Would you recommend that students complete full examination papers before June, so that they would sit down maybe once or twice, time it out, and see how they go?
In the perfect world, yes. So first of all, it is actually quite a taxing endeavor to do a whole
Yeah,
paper. It could be, 3 hours, or something like that for, for the maths paper. It is difficult
yeah,
to do all that. And then, of course, the biggest source of your learning is going to be correcting it.
yeah.
So I think if you can manage it, if you can um, get a paper that you haven't done before, or most of it you haven't done before, then definitely. And just also keep in mind that if you are practicing a mock paper, like, from a couple of years ago, or even we've released some brand new ones, just keep in mind that there is always going to be a discrepancy between something that the State Examination Commission has okayed versus something that, another private company has made.
Yeah.
They're not going to be perfect. So if the most fidelity will be with the SEC papers, but people often find that they've done, bits and bobs from all different years, so it's hard to
Mhm.
get a clean run. But yeah, if you can manage it, absolutely, and go through the marking scheme to the best of your ability, you will learn an awful lot that way, and it gives you a pretty realistic feel for what it might be like when you're in the exam, which is always great.
Yeah, excellent advice. And on that, how would you um, advise students to prepare for English paper one?
Um, For English paper one, well, let me see. I think that with English paper one, people get really nervous around this time of year because um, they find generally that they haven't done nearly as much work for English paper one as they have for English paper two. But the thing
Mhm.
to remind yourself of is that to a huge extent, it's a skill-based exam. So the skills that you learned for your paper two are entirely transferable to your paper one. There is a couple of bits of knowledge that you want to brush up on. You want to differentiate between your language of narration, your aesthetic language, those sort of things, features of persuasion, those kind of idiosyncratic things. You want to know what kind of essays you prefer to write. Most people converge on personal essays. They're kind of the
Mhm.
commonest denominator. And for the longest time, there has been at least one, and in many years, two personal essays. So that tends to be a fallback option. But aside from that, people tend to either gravitate towards short stories, or else they tend to gravitate towards something more analytical, such as a speech, an article, a discursive essay, um, where you basically build an argument
Mhm.
in slightly different ways. So know which type you are and what your plan B is. So with short stories, more often than not, people have some kind of preconceived idea that they plan to adapt on the day for the exact title. Um, and then with discursive essays, your articles, your speeches, it tends to be, just make sure you can structure it well, have three or four distinct main
Mhm.
points, and try to paragraph well, try to signpost your essay well. Structure is just, it's your biggest friend in paper one and in paper two to a huge extent, but you're a bit more guided in paper two. You nearly
Okay.
are given a structure, whereas in paper one, it can be a little bit more free flowing. So, um, those would be my little bits. And going back to the subject of guidance, we got a question, David, about PLCs. How do you apply for them? Are they part of the CAO system, and do you need to pay for them? How does it all work?
Yeah. Well, you were just excellent advice on English paper one and the plan B. I suppose the PLCs are the plan B. They are separate to the CAO system. Um, they are post leaving cert courses, generally 1 year in duration, and the aim of the course is an alternative routeway into a college course if you were unsuccessful in the CAO points race.
Mhm.
Um, you can apply for them through the through the further educational training boards. So, for example, in Dún Laoghaire, Blackrock, Ballsbridge, they have ETBs. They're called. You can fill out the application on their website, and the application fee is €50. It may involve an interview or not. The course that you choose, um, check that it will lead to the degree undergraduate that you want to take.
And
So,
that
for example,
information would be available perhaps on the website, or where would be
it's
it
all
published?
available.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be available on the ETB website. So, for example, if you want to take commerce in UCD, um, it would be wise to consider a PLC in business studies in Blackrock further educational training.
Hmm.
Um, the best way, I think, to do it is when you are researching your courses, which are very important. I would log on to Careers Portal. I would search for, say, in this case, commerce, and I would click on the PLC progression route. That will bring you to the PLC course codes that you can apply to that will bring you to the commerce course, perhaps at the end of completing the PLC. So there, yeah,
So careers portal would be kind of your starting point for
yes,
shortlisting potential PLCs.
it's very convenient, and the number of PLCs vary. You know, the number of places available for PLC courses varies on the different undergraduate programs. It is quite competitive, like the CEO system, but it is an alternative routeway.
Perfect. And while we're talking about guidance, I have another question for you actually. Um, the student here is asking, do they just keep going down your CAO list until you are accepted somewhere? So can you talk us through how the mechanics of the CAO actually run?
Yeah, so you have a list, it's an order of preference. So your top course is, say, 500 points. And in your leaving cert, you achieve 510 points. So you've got your first choice. Everything beneath it has now disappeared. They're gone, they're off the table. Say, for example, if you didn't achieve 500 points, the second course you've listed was 480. It's in, say, sustainability. Then you will get your second choice. Everything beneath it is off the table. It's gone. However, in a later round, you may get your first choice, say it's commerce. If people choose not to, accept the course in round one, they may come back and give you an offer in round two, three, four, or even five.
Yeah, because of course your first choice might be someone else's fifth
Yeah,
choice and they went up on appeal,
exactly.
so they went somewhere else. And then
Yeah,
that's how the rounds work. But I think the point that you're making there implicitly is that everything below the top choice that you matched is gone. So you'll never
yeah.
get your nth choice. So that's why the genuine order of preference is so important, is
It's
that
so important. Yeah.
you'll never
It's
get back the second or third choice if you got your first choice.
Yeah, that's it. And it's just so important that students spend time now between now and before it closes to really to research the course content, the course modules. Again, I recommend Course Portal or Qualifax to log on, go through the modules, see if they interest you, look at the class sizes, look at the teaching styles, look at the assessment types, and really work out, is this course for me? Because we don't want you in a course where you find yourself unhappy or not interested.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot that goes into choosing these things, isn't there? A
Yes.
lot of institutions have social media pages that have little snippets of interviews with uh,
Yeah.
students from those courses. That might be, it's not the highest level of evidence, but it might just be
Yeah.
something to look at. Also, I guess we are in this huge housing crisis. So you also have to always think about, well, the practicalities of going to a particular
Yeah.
college, the commute involved. There's lots of little bits and bobs that influence your course choice. There's a lot to think about, isn't
Yeah.
there?
There is a lot to think about, and geography is definitely one of, and you have to think, are you ready to leave home? Are you ready to leave Dublin and move to Galway, for example? Are you ready to pay extortionate rents, perhaps? Is there accommodation even available? So those things need to be looked at and figured in, or factored in before you make your course decisions. Um, so I think that's very topical in Ireland at the moment, like the accommodation and the impacts it has on students who aren't earning.
Unfortunately, yeah. Yeah, I remember when I finally moved into college accommodation third year, and I couldn't wait. I thought it was going to be the best thing. It was, in retrospect, it was a great experience, but just landing there was like being on a different planet, when you're away
Yeah,
from home for the first time.
yeah,
Big deal.
yeah. It is a big deal. And I remember I moved from Sligo to Kildare, but suddenly I was you know, trying to cook pasta and having to do my washing and my shopping first, even. And suddenly I had all these extra duties to do, and it is quite busy. So as long as you're informed, and lots of people would love and enjoy doing that, it is a big decision to move away from home, and it brings with it other responsibilities as well as your very busy academic schedule too.
Yeah, yeah. But there's so much to look forward to. So it's a really exciting time. Bit
Very
daunting
exciting.
at
Yeah.
times. Very exciting.
Very exciting. Very jealous. Yeah.
Um,
I was just saying with the exams approaching, Martina, and we're just a few weeks out now, and the last thing we want are students burning out or getting overly stressed the night before the exam. Would you have any advice maybe to avoid that?
Yeah, so I think generally speaking, you should avoid doing anything very extreme. So keep it simple. Definitely don't stay up all night studying. Definitely don't consume anything that is promised to you as some kind of miracle cure
Yeah,
that you've never had before. Don't stay up drinking caffeinated drinks or God knows what else they market these
yeah,
days. So the basics are really important. Have your normal breakfast. Have your just keep insofar as you can manage it, keep to your routine and work the exams into your routine. That will make them a lot. more, you're grounded in your normal life and you're just going out to do this exam, basically. So try and keep it as normal as you can manage. Um, and I think it's very difficult to um, exactly not burn out. I think towards the end, everyone feels very, you know, maybe burnt
Exhausted.
out isn't the right
Yeah,
word. Very, very tired. It is a tiring.
yeah, very. It is.
So, and when you come back from your first set of exams, or even that first weekend after, the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday when exams start, you depends on how busy you are, but you might find that all you really want to do is rest. And it is so
Yeah.
important to get proper rest, as in sleep. Spend
Hmm.
some time outside, stay away from forums and discussions and postmortems of exams. That is the worst thing. There is nothing to be gained from discussing how exams went. I firmly believe that. Try and stay away from anyone who might be labeled as
Yeah.
toxic.
Yeah.
So yeah, try and surround yourself insofar as you can manage it with people who, if not empower you, at least don't hinder you.
Yeah.
So yeah, and avoid postmortems, discussions. Um, oops.
Hmm.
So essentially, I would keep it as normal as you can manage it.
Yeah. Yeah, as they say, comparison is the thief of joy, but it's certainly not going to help in any way. The postmortem after an exam, I think I would agree. All of those points, think sleep, rest, walking away, focusing on the next day, and movement as well. I just think it's so important, and to keep things as normal as you can during the leaving cert. Definitely.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And going back to the subject of guidance. When
Mm.
is the last chance to change your CAO list if you made up your mind that you should be going through a different order of preference, let's say?
Yeah, so after you've done your research and after you've finished your grueling set of exams, you have the last week of June to perhaps some students, not all, but some may need to revisit and look over. But you have until the 1st of July and you have until 5 p.m. to do so. And that's when the CAO closes. And it's very important to be mindful of that date because you don't want to forget and you want your courses in the order of preference that suits you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think trying, insofar as you can help it, steer away from any impulsive decisions or
Yes.
involve too many people in them. It's
Yeah.
ultimately your future.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's important maybe to keep it to a small group, maybe your parent, guardians, your guidance counselor, your teachers, and that's the group to discuss your order of preference with. I think it's very important not to fall into the trap of doing what your friends are doing or going where your friends are going. It's about what interests you, it's about what you value, it's about what you enjoy, it's about the course that aligns with you, I think. It's important. Yeah, great. Um, have you any tips on, can you recall your CAO list, Martina, and when you were deciding on your choices and how did you go about it?
Well, I suppose when you're going for medicine,
Yeah.
it feels, certainly when you're doing it, like it's all or nothing. Like what am I going to say after? Is this is one thing I want to do? So yeah, I kind of knew, as you alluded to, are you ready to move away from home? I knew I wasn't, so I didn't put down. I was based in Dublin, so I didn't put down, Cork or Galway. I just put down medicine in Dublin. They were my um go to. And I debated and debated what my subsequent choices would be, but
Yeah.
ultimately I guess I would have probably repeated if it came to that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's always good to have the plan B and also the importance of having and not forgetting to fill out the level 7 and 6 list.
I did
There's
that.
great
Yeah.
opportunities. Yes, I did too. I got applied biology, but um, who knows what might have happened, but I didn't accept it. Um, but it is so important, and those level 6 and 7s can very quickly lead to a level 8, level 9, with so there's opportunities there.
Absolutely. It's
Excellent
not
courses.
always a linear path. And some
Yeah,
of the most
absolutely.
successful stories, you go back and they've taken quite a scenic route. So,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it doesn't have to work out just as you envisage it at this point.
yeah.
You could very well end up landing on a star, as they say.
Yeah, I think there's lots to discuss when it comes to the PLCs, apprenticeships, NTOs. We have lots of, I think we have lots of discussions to have on those, perhaps, Martina, to come.
Yes, so have we answered most of the burning questions, do you think, David?
I think we have. I think we've got through the key questions. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Thank you, everyone who has submitted questions. So, we will hopefully do another session like that at some point soon. So,
Yeah,
be thinking about your questions and do feel free to send them to us. We are mostly present on Instagram. So, David is Careers Ascent 24.
right. Thank you.
And then yours truly is at 625 points. We look through all the messages. Sometimes takes a while to get through them, but we do
Yeah,
definitely receive them. Thank you so much for listening. Bye bye.
bye. Thank you.